flat rides are often looked down on by theme park fans as being filler attractions amongst headliner attractions, only there to boost a park's capacity. However, at the Disney parks, some flat rides have become iconic with the image of what makes a Disney park. Meanwhile, newer technology has allowed the creation of more themed flat rides at the Disney parks, creating alternative flat rides to the standard spinner. So, let's explore the evolution of the Disney flat ride. When people think of a Disney flat ride, the 4 flat rides that were around in the early years of Disneyland normally come to mind. Opening in 1955 in Fantasyland, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, the Mad Tea Party, and King Arthur's Carousel are probably the most iconic version of a flat ride, being the only 3 Disney attractions to currently be found at every single castle park. Additionally, a version of the Astrojets has existed in all 6 castle parks' version of Tomorrowland, although the Astrojets has been the one most altered thematically, from originally circling a rocket to the Orbitron model of circling planets, and the Shanghai Disneyland model where guests ride jetpack ride vehicles, rather than spaceships. Up until 2000, these 4 flat rides were mostly the only ones built by Walt Disney Imagineering, apart from 2. The first was the Flying Saucers, which opened in Disneyland in 1961. These hover bumper cars only seated 1 person at a time, causing them to have a severely limited capacity, and closed in 1966. The other met a similar fate, the Old Mill. This Ferris wheel was added to the back of the Old Mill snack stand in Disneyland Paris' Fantasyland in 1993, offering an alternative view of the Fantasyland expansion space, all built as part of the park's additional capacity program. Unfortunately, the Old Mill's capacity was very small, causing the ride to be closed in 2000. The 2000s was when flat rides became popular at the Disney parks, mostly because they take up a small footprint and could increase the park's lineup of attractions. In 2001, the Magic Carpets of Aladdin was added to the Magic Kingdom's Adventureland to add capacity to that side of the park and cash in on the popularity of Aladdin. The Magic Carpets of Aladdin was similar to Dumbo the Flying Elephant, except it had double the capacity, as each carpet had 2 rows, with the back row being able to control the carpet's tilt. With this extra capacity, this version of a classic spinner was replicated at Walt Disney Studios Park in 2002 as one of the 3 rides at that park, and in Animal Kingdom in 2001 in the form of Triceratops Spin, in an attempt to increase the offerings in Dinoland USA. Still, it would be both Disney's California Adventure, which opened in February 2001, and Tokyo Disney Sea, which opened in September 2001, that would open with the most flat rides, at 6 rides each. Tokyo Disney Sea opened with a 2-story carousel on the Arabian coast section of the park, and a trackless flat ride in the form of Aquatopia in Port Discovery. The main location for flat rides in the park is Mermaid Lagoon, a mostly indoor land themed to the Little Mermaid, featuring the caterpillar-style ride Scuttle Scooters, spinner Blowfish Balloon Race, teacups called the Whirlpool, and a version of Jumpin' Jellyfish. Jumpin' Jellyfish was also added to Disney's California Adventures opening lineup as part of Paradise Pier, the main flat ride hub for the park. Guests would have been able to find, alongside Jumpin' Jellyfish, the Golden Zephyr, the wave swinger called the Orange Stinger, the Ferris wheel then known as the Sun Wheel, the launch tower, the Maliboomer, and King Triton's Carousel of the Sea. This wasn't enough for the new park, and a Bugs Land opened in October 2002, featuring 4 flat rides: Flick's Flyers, France's Ladybug Boogie, Heimlich's Choo Choo Train, and Tuck and Roll's Drive and Buggies. By the time Bugs Land had opened, DCA had 10 flat rides amongst its lineup. It wasn't just DCA and Tokyo Disney Sea that used flat rides to increase its lineup. Walt Disney Studios Park opened in 2002 with only 3 attractions. So in 2007, Toon Studio opened in an attempt to expand the park, bringing with it the Demolition Derby ride Cars Quattro Rue Rally, themed to the Pixar movie Cars. A few years later in 2010, Toy Story Playland opened in the park, featuring the shuttle coaster RC Racer the Drop Towers Toy Soldier Parachute Drop, and the Caterpillar ride Slinky Dog Zigzag Spin. A direct clone of Toy Story Playland opened in Hong Kong Disneyland in 2011 with the same rides, as part of the Freeland expansion. Similarly, in 2018, the first expansion to Shanghai Disneyland was Toy Story Land, featuring Rex's Racers, Slinky Dog Zigzag Spin, and No Parachute Drop. Instead, a newer Whip Flat ride called Woody's Roundup. The Whip ride was first seen in Cars Land when it opened in 2012, in the form of Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. This new style of flat ride took a traditional spinner ride and added the element of whipping around the ride layout. It proved so popular that the Whip ride was cloned in 2018 to Shanghai's Toy Story Land themed to Bullseye, and Hollywood Studios' Toy Story Land themed to the Green Aliens, and later in 2020 to Tokyo Disneyland's Tomorrowland, themed to the Happy Ride with Baymax. When Cars Land opened in 2012, there was a second flat ride called Luigi's Flying Tires, a version of the flying saucers that could fit more people, which also meant they were nearly impossible to move. They were removed in 2015 and replaced by the trackless flat ride Luigi's Rollicking Roadsters, a dancing car ride that has yet to be replicated. So, what is the future of the Disney flat ride? The last two flat rides to open at a domestic Disney park were Jessie's Critter Carousel and Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind, both opening in 2019 in DCA as part of a Pixar Pier retheme of the area. Whilst the last flat ride to open at any Disney park was in 2020, with the Happy Ride with Baymax at Tokyo Disneyland. We know there were plans to add a teacup ride to the UK Pavilion at Epcot themed to Mary Poppins, but it was cancelled during the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving forwards, Walt Disney Studios' expansion and transformation into Disney Adventure World will see the addition of two new flat rides, the teacup-style ride called Raypoint's Tangled Spin, themed Tangled, and opening in 2026, and the up-themed Wave Swinger set to open in 2027. Animal Kingdom is also set to open a new carousel in the new Tropical Americas themed section of the park in 2027, themed to animal characters from various Disney movies. Finally, a new flat ride style for a Disney park will debut when Stark Flight Lab opens in the next few years, using a conveyor belt system and KUKA arms to train guests to be superheroes. Disney seems to be back to investing in flat rides, with the addition of 4 new flat rides in the next few years. However, there are some parks that are in desperate need of extra rides amongst their lineup, particularly Epcot and Hollywood Studios. They could do with a few flat rides just to increase their overall capacity. So I want to know, what kind of flat rides would you have liked to see added to the parks? And what would you theme them to? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below on what you want to see next on the Distory channel.